Well, folks, I have received a letter. This letter comes from a former student from a few years ago, actually, not super recent. I'm not going to tell you their name or anything like that, but I'll read the letter and then I want to show you a few things. Dear Mr. Peterson, not so long ago, I was a student in your chemistry class. My experience in your class, I still remember to this day. I was scared of going into class with a new teacher since I didn't know what to expect. But it only took a few minutes of class for me to realize I had a very cool teacher. I had never had a teacher that was TikTok famous. I didn't believe it at first. Your content is very funny and interesting, so you deserve your mass following. Besides your social media activity, you are an awesome teacher. I must admit that your class was very difficult and there wasn't a single test I felt truly prepared for, but I did well and ended up with a high grade thanks to you. You were always there when I had any questions, and if you remember well, you know I had tons of them. Yes, I do remember that pretty well, actually. You were always there willing to help me, and you never left me confused. Your way of teaching is funny yet effective, and it was something that I really enjoyed. There's a reason that I made you the drawing before I left your class. You were a teacher I truly enjoyed having. I really wish you could have stayed teaching because you were really good at it. I graduate in a few weeks and I wanted to write you a letter appreciating the kind of teacher you are. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. You really are him. That's kind of an inside joke, that part at the end there. This student was a very hard worker. Was always using their time wisely. And yeah, we talked a lot after class and they would ask me really good questions. And it was funny. They were always searching for a deeper understanding. And the questions they asked, I'll be honest, probably didn't really even help, with like the test or anything like that. They just wanted to know. It was years ago and I don't remember any specific questions, but this was a chemistry class. So this student would say something like, we'd be studying ideal gas laws, how pressure, temperature, and volume are directly related. And they would come up after class and they would ask a question like this. Never this exact question. I don't remember any of them exactly, but a question like this. Mr. Peterson, so when the gas molecules are bouncing around, why don't they lose any energy? Because like when a ball bounces on the ground, eventually it stops. But the gas molecules, you were telling us the pressure is caused by them hitting the outside of their container. So how come they can do that forever? An insanely good question, and one whose answer is not going to be on a high school test, but a great question. And then the thing about staying, I worked at this school for 1 year. I actually really liked working there, but I, out of the blue, got an offer at this place that, without getting too much into it, it was very fancy. They had all the bells and whistles. The benefits were really incredible. And it just looked like too good of an opportunity to pass up. But I really, really thought about it. It was a really tough decision to make. It was kind of the thing where I said, well, I mean, if it doesn't work out, maybe I could come back. So that was why they were talking about they wished I could have stayed. But after I read this letter, I said, oh, I got to go get my box. So I have a box, and in this box is pretty close to every single letter or something that a student ever gave to me. I do my best to keep all of them, even really silly things. Like, I wonder if I can find it. So here's a drawing that a student made of me, and they put it on the whiteboard. It looks just like me, right? So I try to keep even the silly things. But this is that drawing that student was talking about. They even laminated it with packing tape, which is actually a pretty cool idea. But there it is. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Here's another letter I got. It's from a student from that same school a few years ago. And it's just, thanks for putting up with us. Thank you for, I used to have snacks for them. I had bottled water and Welch's fruit snacks, and they could buy them for 50 cents. And then what I would do is I would keep all that money and then spend it whenever the school was having fundraisers and stuff. So also, a funny story about that is there was this competition where each class had to, they would put money in a jar in their classroom. And whichever classroom had the most money, they had to kiss a goat. And so I put all of the money that I had from the snack funds in there. And yeah, I won, which kind of makes it sound like I wanted to kiss a goat now that I think about it. There's a video of that somewhere. If I can find it, I'll put it in here. We had a fundraiser this week for FFA, and whichever class raised the most money, the teacher has to kiss a goat. Well, guess what?
Lucky winner, the one, the only, Mr. Peterson.
On the head?
On the mouth.
On the mouth?
On the mouth.
All right.
You ready? 3, 2, 1. Does anybody have any gum? Gum? Ricky, you got gum? Okay, thank you.
I've had better. And they go on to say, I cannot believe that people actually think the earth is flat. And then making fun of the fact that Kyrie Irving, I'm a big Dallas Mavericks fan and my students know that, making fun of the fact that Kyrie Irving is on my team because he apparently thinks the earth is flat. There are some not as fun things in here, unfortunately. This is an obituary for a student that I had. She was killed in a car accident like 2 days before senior year started. I had her for 2 classes. I was supposed to have her for anatomy that year too. That was crushing. Here's another one. Mr. Peterson, thank you for being a great teacher. We had a rough beginning of the year, but I eventually got used to you, LMAO. Yeah, this student and we did not get along too great at the beginning of the year, and it was mostly like them just not doing what I ask and sort of misbehaving a little bit. But, they warmed up to me, and they actually became an incredibly good helper in the classroom and very polite all the time. I really do like the way you teach. You actually make things interesting. You deserve to be treated with respect because you are a person with feelings too. Overall, you're a really cool person with an interesting personality. May you have a blessed day. This letter, it almost made me cry when I got it because I got this at the end of the year. Pretty much all these things, although there are some birthday cards in here, come at the end of the year. And in this particular instance, at this school, there are these 2 students that on multiple occasions tried to assault me. They came to my classroom once, and at the end of the day, the school would pass out snacks to all the students. And some of them didn't want their snack, so I would keep them, and then I would give them to the homeless after school. So these 2 students that weren't even mine from a different classroom came in, and they were like, "Hey, can we have your leftover snacks?" This is going to end up being a long story because there's so many details. So it wasn't the end of class or school yet. And I had a rule that I don't let my students eat during class. They can have them the last 5 minutes. So all my snacks were sitting in a box. They asked if they could have some, and I said, well, no, my students haven't even gone through them yet. And they just had this horrible attitude, and they were trying to be like intimidating or something. It was very strange. And I kind of told them off a little bit because their behavior was totally unacceptable. Well, from that point on, for like the rest of the school year, they would, during break time and stuff, they would throw the football outside my classroom. They'd always been doing this. I don't have a problem with it. But from that point on, every opportunity they could take, they would throw that ball at me, and it very nearly hit me a few times. They threw it at me once when I wasn't looking because I was walking back from the office to my classroom, and that's the only way to get there. And then I remember this other time, one of them was standing kind of by my door, and then as the other one was gonna throw it, they both kind of do the nod, and he like reached his hands way out this way, like, oh no, throw it over here. And of course that was in my direction, and the thing landed right by me. So that had been going on for a long time, and it was pretty rough. And there were a lot of really bizarre things that happened that year. A whole car full of students flipped me off, and a lot of other things. And getting this letter from somebody who gave me some problems at the beginning, but then became this really wonderful person, and then saying, you're a person who deserves respect and you have feelings. that was they made a Planet Peterson poster too, and it actually says right on the top, sorry for being mean to you in the beginning of the year. Check this out, why you are a great teacher. And then there's there's just me sitting there, and it says, the camera's not going to pick it up, but it says science rules right there, and their name isn't on here, so I already looked. Mr. Peterson, I just want to say that it was a delight to be in your class. I enjoyed you playing your guitar in class and those funny slangs you use. I wonder what it is I said, because I don't actually remember. This is great. This is a really good drawing too, but so I would I don't know if you guys know the song Electric Zoo from SpongeBob, but it's that episode where they think Mr. Krabs is a robot, and he asks them to play that one song on the radio, and it just goes do 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 do. And so there's a 10-hour loop of that on YouTube, and I would play it every now and then as like background study music. Somehow for me that song never gets old, even though do 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 do, even though it only has 6 notes, and the none of the students ever complained about it. So yeah, but that's the dance that Krabs is doing in that scene. So that was kind of that was a thing I had with my students that year. They just drew my desk. It says absolutely nothing else. It's just Mr. Peterson's desk, and it's really accurate too. I remember that. Thank you so much for being my science teacher. You're one of the best teachers I ever had. You actually make class fun and really interesting. This one's a birthday card from my wife from 2 years ago. I keep Christmas and birthday cards and stuff like that from family and friends in here too. There's a lot more of these. I'm not gonna read them all. Obviously, that wasn't really the point. This will be the last one. Dear Mr. Peterson, I actually don't know why I'm writing this. This isn't a proper letter either, just a note, kinda. Lily and I have noticed you seemed a little stressed, and we wanted to make sure that you were okay. Not the teacher's normal response of, yeah, I'm absolutely fine, because that's a lie most of the time. I wanted to make sure that you, the person and human being, is okay. It's probably just stress, but I wanted to remind you that people care and most people like you as a teacher. So I guess here's a note about how awesome you are. You are funny, sarcastic, and you know how to teach. You are great at the guitar, you're nice, and you care about your students. Sorry if my handwriting is bad. It isn't. I just wanted to help you smile while dealing with your stuff. Good luck on your open house performance. P.S. If you can't tell, you're like my favorite teacher. So this was 6 years ago. It was my first year living in California. I moved from South Dakota all the way to California. Man, I don't remember what was going on. I mean, I do remember it being kind of stressful because I had 3 preps and, I just turned my life around. But I don't know. Things were good. I'm sure there was something going on. I just don't know what it was anymore. I don't know how many of you, or if any of you, will see this video. And Sorry that I didn't go through every single letter. Some of them are 10 years old. I do look at them every now and then, but I just wanted to say thank you. I find myself in a little bit of an odd position where I don't know if teaching is in my future. I guess we'll see. But it's nice to know that apparently, at least for some people, what I do works. Again, thank you very much.